So here we are, it's getting towards the end of the day, and I've got a couple little things that I've been working on. We're busy as always here. On the left is a starter motor that I believe to be a cheap Chinese knockoff of a Vallejo starter motor. It has no visible brand or marking of any kind. It did have a sticker on it to say that it came in from a company in America. And this is one of two identical bikes that were built for off-road that I work on now, and it arrived here with a very nasty noise in it. And when we took it apart, this is what we found. The entire nose over the pinion had actually cracked and broken off, and it's marked a couple of the teeth on the flywheel ring gear, but we'll sort those out with a little file and it should be alright. Now, Vallejo have been original equipment in a lot of things around the world for a lot of years. I've had a lot of mechanical shops and we've had a lot of fun with Vallejo starter motors. They're reduction drive starter motor. They're very powerful for what they are. They're quite cheaply made. They're French originally. They're now made in places like Portugal and part of the former USSR, Poland I think. Their biggest problem was that they had stick-on magnets, so the magnets that were stuck to the stator housing were glued on, and the rotor and spun inside there. With heat and various work cycles that they came to lose contact with the stator housing, they'd get swept around and caught up in the rotor, and that would be the end of that. They're relatively cheap. I believe a new genuine Vallejo now, they've got cage magnets and they're supposed to have better gears in their planetary setup. I think they're around $300, but don't hold me to that. These things are available. These things here are available on eBay. I've seen them for about $85. I've never fitted one. I guess, you know, if you're in a situation where, you know, you didn't have a lot of money and you needed to get your Airhead going and you were not riding it a lot, probably be okay. But this is a second exact same thing I've seen happen with these, and the third one where the brass bush in here actually collapsed. So I'm not a big fan of them, I've got to say, but each to his own. This is what I'm going to replace it with. You've probably heard people, you know, crapping on about these things for a lot of years. This is a genuine Nippon Denso, made in Japan starter motor. They are not cheap. They are over $650 or $80 or something. I haven't got the bill for this one yet, so I don't know exactly what I paid for it, but it's somewhere in there. I've had one in my bike in my GS for 10 years or more. They are a Rolls Royce, there is no doubt about it. They cost Rolls Royce money. But the difference of them, between them and a cheaper starter motor, is just absolutely obvious. Now, not everybody's got the right amount of money, but have a look. Have a look. Try and get them together. There you go. Look at the difference in the construction. Look at the difference in the bearing surface in the end of the pinion shaft. The way the body is assembled, screwed in magnets, aluminium cap, full length bolts right through holding the whole thing together. You're talking about a totally different machine. These are bearings, not bushes. They are absolute quality things all the way through. They use them to start anything from a Land Rover diesel to a Harley Davidson. These are made by Emerald Isle. They're distributed by Emerald Isle. They're modified to suit our bikes. They've got the correct number of pinion teeth, and they are just the best. I don't think there's any contest. However, there is always, as they say, money talks. Now I'm going to show you a couple of other little things. A couple of people ask me when I talk about whetstone, spelt W-H-E-T-S-T-O-N-E. Well, they used to be called oil stones. They were a must-have in every workshop when I was growing up as a kid. They're harder to find now. What these are fine stones. You can buy them from trade tools. They come in a pack of 3 for about $18, and they're actually bore hone stones. That's why they're like that. But for the work I do with them, cleaning up flats like the back of this gearbox housing here, they are absolutely perfect. They allow you to give a straight edge. They will cut through most kinds of goop, and they're pretty fantastic. The next thing I'm going to show you is on this gearbox that I'm building over here. If you have a look, you can see that this area here is a matte silver with a very tiny mark in it there. That gearbox is almost ready to go back together, and this here is the output flange off it, and if I can get a light in there, you can see that the finish inside there is the same. So what happened? Well, when I went to take that flange off the back of the gearbox before I rebuilt it, I undid the nut on the end of the output shaft, and I put the appropriate tool on there to break the Morse taper and pull that drive flange off. And when I was loading it up ready to tighten it down and pull it off, it came off in my hand. Now, normally that spells disaster for one of these, but in fact I believe that the man was absolutely blessed, because the thing had just barely moved at all on that taper. And there is a line in it. There's one little line just there, right? So what we did is we got some fine valve grinding paste, and we took all the gears off the shaft and we stuck it in the aluminium jaws of my vise, and I sat there for a little while and I did the old 1, 2, 3 quarter turn, 1, 2, 3 quarter turn, 1, 2, 3 quarter turn, and then reversed it very gently, because if you push too hard on grinding paste with the Morse taper, you will actually open the taper up and you will sink the flange down further on the shaft, which will actually cause it to not work on the bike. In fact, it will cause it to do damage. So all I was wanting to do was make the shafts very much like grinding a valve. That little mark, I'd say, has been in it from something else that's happened to it before. But right now, if I drop that on there, do that, and you'll find that it is already totally stuck on that taper. So it will bolt up lovely. So there's something that you might never have seen before. And the last one is, I'm just going to pause this for a second. So this is a customer's bike. It's just getting ready for a Seaman rock kit, among a whole lot of other stuff we've done to it. And he was in on the weekend, and this was all covered in some kind of brown crap again. And that's what this comes in handy for. Like when you want to clean, it's very hard to do this with one hand, but you use CRC and you can go this way, you can come back this way down across here, and you will clean that very effectively and without rounding the edges or creating any divots. It is a technique I suggest if you're going to try it, don't try it on a block. Try getting something that you've never used before and work on it with a straight edge until you get the technique to work. Crisscross is good, round and round isn't. Slide it along, up and down is not so hot either. It's crossways on straight edges. That's how whetstones work. These here, these two top studs are actually blanking studs. Get in here, maybe I can maybe show you if I can find the damn thing there. You'll see it's swelled on the bottom. That's because the hole that they drilled, which runs down through here to the back, is a bigger diameter hole than the actual head of the stud. So they've swelled, they've used a step stud in here. We take those out when we do an engine rebuild, and in situ or an engine fresh up rather than a rebuild, and we clean that out thoroughly, because there's often crap stuck down in the back here, and the two holes in the top studs flush and run clean. You should see the rubbish that comes out of there, it would surprise you. Also around this side, this bike's getting a 650 watt alternator and a red center ignition as well. We took out the oil pressure switch, and once again a blob of gloop came out of there, so we've cleaned all that out as well. So they're the sorts of things: cleanliness, preparation, the holes where your push rod rubbers go in, they have to be spotless and free of crap and free of anything. Make sure that they are spotless if you're going to rebuild an engine of any kind. These things are important if you want your bike to live and survive well. Till we see each other again, ride safely and stay well.